this is Jo from Maths Tutor Me. Today we're doing indices and we're going to learn about negative indices. Before we start on this sheet, I just want to show you where this rule actually comes from and why it works. So let's have a look at this question that I have here. If I have x squared divided by x to the power of 5, there's actually two ways that I can do this question. The first thing I could do is, we have learnt that if we're dividing, we subtract the powers. So if I do that, I would get x as the base, subtract the powers, 2 minus 5 would give me a minus 3. The other way I could do that question, x squared divided by x to the power of 5, is that I could write it as a fraction. I could say, well, that's x squared over x to the power of 5, and that means that I could cancel 2 x's on the top, leaving me with 1 because there'll be nothing left, and I'll cancel 2 on the bottom, giving me a 3. If I write that again, I would get 1 over x cubed. Okay, so doing the question in those two different ways actually shows me that x to the power of negative 3 is actually equal to, it's the same as 1 over x cubed. Okay, and that's the rule that we're investigating today. If I have a negative power, we can write it in a different form. We can write it in a fraction. So if it's a negative 1, if it's a power of negative 1, then it just becomes 1 over a. The a just moves to the bottom of the fraction. But if we have any other negative number up here, then our a to the m will move to the bottom. We've just lost the minus sign there. It'll be a 1 on the top. These rules are always much easier when you see them actually used. So let's use them. Let's have a look at example number 1. If I have w to the power of minus 4, if I want to write that in fractional form, so with a positive index, all I have to do is turn it into a fraction. I put a 1 on the top, over. This will go to the bottom. It'll be exactly the same, except a positive power now. So w to the negative 4 is the same as 1 over w to the power of 4. Now, most of the time, or often, you will have a 1 on the top, except when you have a big number in front of your index here. So I have a 5 at the front, which means instead of a 1 on the top, I'm going to have a 5 on the top, and the v to the negative 6 will become v to a positive 6 if I put it on the bottom. Question 3, I want to do some dividing here. 12 divided by 3 we can do, I can get a 4, 12 divided by 3 is 4. And when we divide, we subtract the powers. So 7 minus 9 is minus 2, so it's d to the power of minus 2. But we want to write our answer in fractional form, so I can rewrite that. The 4 is going to go to the top, and the d will go to the bottom, and we'll get a positive power of 2. Question 4, 36ab over 4b cubed. Let's cancel, let's simplify this first. 36 can be divided by 4, and it would be 9. So 36 divided by 4, let's cross off the 4, and we have a 9 left. A b on the top and b cubed on the bottom, I could cancel the b with one of those, giving me 2 left on the bottom. Let's write down what we have left. 9a on the top, over on the bottom, I have a b squared, that's all that's left. And that's already in fractional form, so we'll leave it there. In these two questions here, we want to go in the opposite direction. I'm given a fraction and I want to go back and find what this would be, how this would be written with a negative index. So I want to bring the n back to the top, so all I have to do is put a negative power back in. Okay, so n to the power of -5. If there is a number on the top there, it will become the number at the front, and the j will become a negative power of 9 here. J to the power of -9. So over the page is some questions that are just like the ones we've just done for you to have a practice. If you pause the video, have a try, see if you can remember what we've learned, restart the video to check your answers. So for question 1, you should have got for your answer 1 on the top over r to the power of 8. Question 2, the 3 is going to go to the top. The s this time will go to the bottom to a positive power of 5. Question 3, divide the big numbers first. 16 divided by 8 is 2, and h to the power of 4 divided by h to the power of 7. H is the base, subtract the powers. 4 minus 7 makes a -3. But to write that in fractional form, the 2 will go to the top, h to the power of +3 on the bottom. Question 4, we're timesing this time, so 6 times 2 is 12. When we times indices, in this case f is the base, we want to add the powers. -5 plus -3. I'm adding, but they're negative numbers, which actually means that I'm going to get a -8. If you have trouble with negative numbers, you can always type them into your calculator. To write that in fractional form, the 12 is going to go to the top, and it'll be f to the power of a +8 on the bottom. Okay, let's switch to the other ones now. Let's go from a fraction back to a negative index. So we want to bring the g up, and it will get a negative power of 3. For question 2, the 4 will sit out the front, the y is the base, and it will become a power of -3. That's it. Once you practice it a few times, hopefully you find that it gets easier, it's not so difficult and confusing. Practice lots, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.